Evergreen Heart. By Oprian. Chapter 7. Origins of the Tree of Harmony. As I entered the cave, I was almost blinded by the massive amount of magic that radiated from the Tree of Harmony. The thing was like a miniature sun, shining in a dazzling rainbow of colors, gently humming with life. The aura that emanated from it was so overwhelming I stood rooted to the spot for several minutes, simply trying to get used to its presence. Even without the elements embedded in its branches and trunk, this monument to harmony was the most magnificent sight I've ever had the privilege of laying my eyes on. I couldn't even begin to comprehend how much more powerful it would be when the elements were eventually returned to it. After what felt like ages of staring into the gentle light, I finally got used enough to the tree's presence to move and get to work. I found a nice secluded spot a little further into the cave, a respectable distance away from the tree. I placed the cocoon with my body on the floor and began to dig. It was slow going at first, the cave floor was a bit harder than I anticipated. But by burrowing my roots and slowly enlarging them, I was able to break through the hard upper layer to get to the softer ground underneath. From there the task became much easier. Once the hole was deep enough so that I had to put most of my upper body into it to dig, I withdrew and carefully placed the cocoon in the hole. I took one last look at myself and filled the hole back up. I felt empty now that my task was done. I thought burying my body would give me a sense of closure. Part of me wanted to mourn myself, but it felt ridiculous since I wasn't exactly dead. Worst of all, I couldn't even cry to vent my frustrations. You have no idea just how cathartic a good cry could be. However, this body was incapable of shedding tears. Maybe that's why I've been feeling and acting so awkward at times. I wasn't able to feel and act the way the human mind is accustomed to. Perhaps that's why, despite the horror of my near-death experience, and my transition into this form, I haven't gone completely mental. Most people would be a basket case after what happened to me. I'm about as average as they come, where humans were concerned. I had neither impressive physical prowess nor great mental fortitude. I was just another average Joe trying to make his way through life and claw out a little spot for himself to be happy and secure. By all accounts, my mind should have snapped like a twig under the pressure of it all, and yet here I am, being all analytical about it. I sat in silent contemplation for the longest time until I felt something touch my mind. It was like a whisper in my ear, but without words. Something was calling out to me. It took me a minute to pinpoint the origin of the sound, and even longer to realize I was actually hearing the Tree of Harmony. Yet, I was hearing a tree speak to me without words. Freud would have a fucking field day with me. For a while I tried to ignore it, but the longer I sat there pretending not to hear, the stronger the call became. I finally turned around and walked towards it. This close-up, its magic was so bright it was almost painful, yet it felt soothing, in a way. Like a mother embracing her child. It felt safe, secure. Little by little I felt my anxiety melt away. I slowly reached out with a hand, almost touching the trunk. My fingertips tingled with static electricity, like touching one of those plasma balls you sometimes saw in those stores that sold gadgets and knickknacks. This tree was ancient. I didn't realize how ancient until my fingers made contact with its crystalline trunk. It was like a floodgate opened and a sea of information just washed over my mind. I could make no sense of it, until a voice suddenly cut through the din and spoke to me. Be at peace and welcome, child of the earth. Know the origins of the guardian of harmony. Before my mind's eye a story unfolded. Before recorded time, when the stars were young and the world was new, came the first of the alicorns. The first to appear was Silas, creator of the heavens. Next came his brother, Tempus, the steward of time. Finally there was their sister Ultura, keeper of the earth and all that grows on it. The powers of chaos, bringers of change, had shaped a new world. But it was barren, frozen, and cold, spinning endlessly in the void between stars, without life. Seeing this, Silas pulled a star from the heavens to serve as this new world's sun. It melted the ice and snow, creating the first lakes and oceans. To act as a balance to the scorching sun, he also gave this new world a gentle moon, to illuminate the night and bring forth the tides. Acknowledging his brother, Tempest took the energy of the ether and the cosmos and infused the new world with it, thus jump-starting creation by giving it the spark of life. Seeing the brimming potential of their work, he wrangled the limitless energies of time and space to grant magic upon the earth. Admiring the other's work, Ultra let her energy wash over the world, and in its path sprouted vast forests and meadows and grassy plains. At a stomp of her hooves mountains rose and valleys were born. Soon the world was full of lush green land. With the world ready, soon life began to flourish. There came many children to inhabit the new world. First amongst them were the dragons. Strong of form and ruthless of mind, born from the raw magic and the spirit of fire. In their wake, others soon followed, the diamond dogs, griffins, all majestic and unique in their own right. Last, came the ponies. Where the other children of the new world flourished, the ponies struggled and faltered, unable to compete with the rest of creation's children. They did not have claws like the griffins, not the iron scales of the sons of fire. Seeing such injustice, the three alicorns decided to grant them a tiny portion of their own strength, so they might stand up and make their own path. Silas took from himself a feather, letting it gently float down to the land below for the ponies to catch. The power locked inside the boon called out to the sky, granting all who touched it wings, and so the ponies took flight amongst the birds. Those were the first Pegasi, and they were given rule over the seasons and weather. Tempest cut a sliver from his own horn and embedded it into the earth. Curious ponies approached the artifact and upon touching it were given a glimpse into the infinite power and beauty of the magic he created. Upon their foreheads grew horns of their own, granting them control over Tempest's creation. With their eyes now open to the ether flowing around and through them, the first unicorns were appointed the stewards of magic, capable of moving the sun and moon alike. While the Pegasi and unicorns reveled in their gifts, one group of ponies was still left out. Those did not catch the feather nor touch the horn shard, for they were busy trying to make a life of their own with just the strength of their hooves. Impressed by their tenacity, Ultra took some of her power and with it she blessed their first harvest to ensure it was rich and bountiful. With this blessed food the ponies held a great feast. All who ate from it were granted a powerful connection to the earth, immense strength, and boundless vitality. Their ears and eyes opened up to the beauty of nature, letting them care for it like no other tribe. So the earth ponies came to be. Their task complete, Tempest and Silas eventually departed the world. Ultra, ever the mother, decided to linger a while and watch over the earth she helped create, being its silent observer for millennia. All was good in the world, until the agents of entropy sniffed out the magic left behind by the powerful alicorns. From the dark and wicked dimension of Tumbelin came the evil horde, led by the powerful demon Lord Groger. Groger sought to conquer the new world, enslave its children and suck its magic dry, leaving behind an empty, dead husk. Ultra would not let that happen. She stood with her children as they battled the forces of Groger and faced the demon lord in single combat. The battle between these titans left many a scar upon the land. The island of Trotlantis sank beneath the waves and was forever lost. The green hills of Draconia were obliterated and became the Badlands. Eventually Ultra succeeded in defeating Groger and banished him and his hordes back to their dimension, but not before Groger committed one last act of spite. Using some of his own vile blood from one of his many wounds, Groger put an everlasting curse upon the land. It would grow wild and untenable, giving birth to all kinds of monsters and bizarre creatures. Where the tyrant's blood splattered on the landscape, the ever-free forest was born, destined to consume the world in its dark tendrils and twisted magics. Ultra, mortally wounded as she was, used all of her remaining magic, and even her very life force to create a guardian against evil. That protector would be known as the Tree of Harmony. Its magic would keep the curse from spreading further, controlling and containing all that lived and grew within the ever-free. In times of need, the fruits of the tree could be harvested by those that embodied the elements that Aliura cherished the most: honesty, laughter, loyalty, kindness, generosity, and magic. With her last breath, the alicorn wished her beloved world prosperity and growth, starting another era of peace. With her essence spread to the world, it would not be long before part of her took root in another pony, letting it become an alicorn capable of continuing Ultura's work of guidance and protection. All the children of the world mourned her passing, honoring her sacrifice in story and song from the highest peaks to the deepest valleys. Eventually Ultura's sacrifice became legend, and that legend was later lost to time. Still, the Guardian remains. As it always has. As it always will. Its story told, the voice went silent and my senses returned to me. I was stunned by what I learned, and a little bit confused. Why would the Tree of Harmony share this knowledge with me, and to what end? Was it simply that because of my unique nature I could hear its voice where others could not? Or was there much more to it than I understood? Did the tree have some kind of plan in mind for me? The very idea scared me witless. I wasn't cut out to be a hero or some valiant champion of good. I'm as common as they come, or I used to be at least. I wasn't looking to get into some grand adventure or mythical quest. Heck, I didn't even want to come to this world in the first place. I never asked for any of this. I felt like a rat running through someone else's maze for reasons beyond my ken. I reached out to the tree with my magic, hoping to find answers, but nothing was forthcoming. Its voice remained silent, giving me the cold shoulder all of a sudden. I growled. You can't just dump all of that on me and then leave me wondering as to why, you bastard. No answer. Not that I expected one really. I sighed mentally. Guess I'll figure it out in time. When I stepped out of the cave, the sun had already set and the cool night air caressed my leaves. I looked up at the sky, watching the stars twinkle and shine. I wondered if Silas and Tempest were still out there somewhere. Did they even care about what happened to their sister? How would they react if they ever met her descendants? My thoughts briefly wandered to Celestia and Luna. I hope Luna is adjusting well to life after her banishment. Yeah, I'm a bit of a Luna fanboy, sue me. I shook myself from my musings and began the long walk back to Zecora's place. I could already feel my body growing a bit sluggish. I had expended a lot of energy today and my reserves were dwindling rapidly. If only I could find a couple of parasprites to munch on. That would surely hold me over until I reached Zecora. Alas, the little bugs rarely seemed to venture out at night. Something else was out there though, as a familiar howling reached me. Timber wolves. If it's the last thing I'll do in this world, I will find out where they keep coming from and destroy the place, if only to make sure they would never threaten the ponies again. Especially the Crusaders. I might not be good with kids, but I had a soft spot for those three fillies. My thoughts drifted to the upcoming meeting with them. Hopefully it will go better than the last time. At least Apple Bloom seemed to be on my side. I hope she was able to talk some sense into Applejack, because that pony can be awfully mule-headed. Ugh, so many things to worry about. I swear I could use a stiff drink. Can this body even absorb alcohol, or would that simply poison me? And if I can drink, can I even get drunk? Spending the rest of my existence forever sober sounded like a dull prospect. I must have been more tired than I realized. My mind was all over the place. Perhaps I should just sleep here. Yes, sleep sounded good. I stood amidst several thick briar patches, dug my roots in deeply and allowed my mind to drift off. Soon, the blackness of sleep claimed me.